conversation system. And so, you know, so much, I think, rests on basic levels of communication, and I don't think we're necessarily taught that. And so for me, I think my work in communications and with Lifeline, you know, really stemmed from, I won't go into my background, obviously Sharon knows a bit, you know, very interesting childhood, but it stemmed for me a fundamental curiosity in human behaviour. And I think from that, I just started to learn how to communicate effectively, I guess, and how to listen. And I think, you know, again, why I'm really passionate about Lifeline is one of the key skills we do at Lifeline is listen, truly actively listen. And it's such a fundamental point of communication that I think in this busy world, and this world where we are set up to find solutions to problems quickly and all of that kind of thing, we forget actively listening. And too often then we don't necessarily, you know, we don't empower people, because if we're providing solutions for people in a way that tells them what to do, we don't empower them to perform. And so again, much of my communications work revolves around how to empower people to communicate effectively, because that's actually how we get results.
And it's really interesting that you are a communication specialist, and what a perfect person to have on the other end of the Lifeline. Because I think what people don't realise is listening is a huge skill. And as a life coach and a counsellor myself, I know the importance of you needing to listen. Mm-hmm. But as a Lifeline volunteer, you must listen. You don't really have a choice. And that would be probably what most of your training is about, I'm guessing, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And listening without assumption, which again is something I bring into the communications work I do, you know, as well, because I think too often we listen and we apply the assumptions that we've had in our own life to that situation. So we think we automatically know what someone's saying because we apply that to how our life has turned out. And when we separate ourselves from other people and we realize that we're all just shaped by the life we've had, what we've learned, we can take away the fact that we feel something is right and wrong and go, okay, well, for someone else, that might not be the way because they've got a different perception. And we take away those assumptions, and then we start to get curious. And so then we can ask questions to further understand why someone's feeling some way, or why, you know, something's happened, as opposed to making an assumption and then trying to enter a conversation thinking that that person, you know, is, you know, or you're drawing from your own experience. So you're going, I think that person's situation is exactly the same as mine, when it's not. And I think, just adding to that, I think, and I talk about this a lot as well in communication, once we realize that we can break the unconscious bias. And I think acknowledging that we all have unconscious bias is important. I love how people are like, oh, I did the unconscious bias training, so now I'm okay. You'll never untrain unconscious bias. We all have it. Like, we just cannot know everything. But what happens is when we acknowledge that, and what the training usually goes to do is go, okay, if I acknowledge that, I now know that I cannot possibly know it all. I cannot possibly know all perceptions. So I've got to go out and seek more answers and seek other perspectives so I can get that diverse perception, so I can actually communicate effectively. I can be inclusive, all of those kind of things. And so, you know, I think, again, it goes to listening and you know, the self-awareness. Once you have that self-awareness that says, yeah, I need other perspectives, you then open yourself to truly listen because you want to understand.
Yes, and self-awareness is really important, isn't it, when it comes to you and I, before we're even chatting about the ego, which again it all comes into this, the self-awareness, the ego, the listening. And I love the way you just explained that about the listening, because that really goes to show your skill when it comes to a communications expert. Because how often do you go into, and we both would know this from when we were both in the public service, we went into meetings and people would just, and they weren't even interested in what anybody else had to say.
Yeah.
And then off they'd go and they'd build the program, or they'd look for the solution, and things would be falling, you know, over left, right and centre, because it was all about their own opinions. They weren't bringing in they weren't listening to what other stakeholders had to say. It was like, no, this is the way we want it. And look, we don't just see this in government. We see this all across every business. We see this in our everyday life when we're dealing with family situations. It happens, you know, we all get those three, you know, the listening skills, the ego, the self-awareness, they can all intertwine and create some really interesting outcomes.
They can indeed. And it's interesting you say that too, because it just, you know, as I'm thinking about that, like it's so fundamental to the success of anything. So, you know, yes, we've got people that come in and, you know, teams work together to get solutions for something. And like you said, things can often fall down really because someone, you know, doesn't necessarily listen. They make an assumption on what's happening. And I think people don't do that out of malice. I think people make an assumption because it's easier. Okay, I can understand this in the way I frame it. And so I'm going to go about this.
Yes.
Partly in ego, because then I can prove that I'm the right person for this and I can do this. And so also sometimes that goes to, I don't want to ask questions because I don't want anyone to think that I'm not smart enough to get this, or I don't want anyone to think that I don't understand this. So I'm going to make all of the assumptions and go ahead. But again, like we've seen, and like you said, it's not just government, it's kind of, you know, it's rife throughout every industry. The expectations don't match. And I think increasingly, I know I've noticed, and again, being having a long-term career, I guess, you know, in government and then sort of working in you know, other areas, but, you know, a long-term career in communications, I've noticed too often that that's where things fall down, the expectations. And so when you don't necessarily actively listen and really understand, and you don't question all the assumptions, the expectations don't match. And someone can say, yep, this is what we're delivering, we know this. And then the other person goes, yep, I know what we're delivering, we're doing this. But there's no expectation checking. And so suddenly the paths don't match. And then the end of the, you know, middle of the way of the project, people are like, what's going on? And no one sort of has actually checked in earlier to go, hold on, what are we delivering here? What's our expectations? And constantly having that conversation. And I think it's where particularly, you know, I think communications is always branded these days as marketing, which I think is makes it really hard, because I think communications and marketing are actually two separate things. They're really quite interlinked. But when we go to communications, everyone needs to be a communicator. And when you get communication specialists in, they go back to that fundamentals. They go, okay, well, how are you communicating together on this project? How are you communicating with your stakeholders? How are you checking expectations? How are you setting expectations? You know, how are you doing your follow-up? All of those kind of things. How are you testing assumptions? That's where the value of getting communication specialists comes in, because I truly believe, you know, everyone's an expert in their own area, right? So you come into a project, and for instance, say it's a tech project, because there's a lot of them these days and I actually really love them. You've got so many great people there for a great reason, because they're such experts at what they do. And so I think we can't reasonably expect that person to lift up and see the bigger picture when they're so ingrained in the work that they've got to do, and they've got to get that done. And so that importance of then, having the comms people there to kind of lift up and go, I can pick this and I can match this together and I can help everyone communicate together, as opposed to making everyone be everything to everyone. It just doesn't, work.
Yeah, that is, and expectation is unbelievable, isn't it? That's one of the big ticket items that people actually forget about.
It's so true. And even expectation, I've had a lot of conversations lately about expectation with self, and I think that's quite an interesting thing as well. And, you know, as we came into this COVID weird period, let's be honest, you know, not only was there so much uncertainty, but people were then, because there was uncertainty, people lost what their expectations of themselves were through that period. They lost control, and they weren't resetting those expectations to say, it's okay that I do this, or what do I expect of myself through this time? And, you know, that, you know, then puts you in a big spin every day of not, you know, feeling overwhelmed about everything, because fundamentally, one, you can't get that expectations with the world because things were so uncertain. And if you forget to check in the expectations of yourself, then you've got so much uncertainty everywhere, and it's hard to break that overwhelm. So I think, you know, expectations I think is a huge thing, but it's always about what do we expect of ourselves too. I think that's vital.
Oh my God, you have just explained, and I know we haven't even spoken about this yet, but you have just explained how I went through the first 4 weeks of COVID-19.
Yeah.
You've just hit the nail on the head, and I actually haven't been able to pinpoint that. So there you go. There's your expertise just coming out everywhere. But I was like, I couldn't quite understand, because, you know, business was busy and then it slowed up. And then even though it had slowed up, I made myself busy because
Yeah.
I had the expectation that I had to still be valuable in what I was doing, and be seen to others as not, um, I had to feel like I was good enough. There you go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
normally am very comfortable in that state. But you've just hit that nail. Oh my God, you've just, for me, it's just been a light bulb moment. I've gone, oh my God, that was me for the first four weeks of COVID-19. And I figured if I made myself so busy and didn't think about it, and so I was squeezing in clients, and then all of a sudden I had 2 weeks where clients were not, they were just non-existent.
Yeah.
And that to me, and it's only this last week I was going, oh my God, that was time for me to stop and slow down. But what I did was I did even busier things.
Yeah.
Because my expectation of myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such, I love that you shared that, and I'm sure your audience is going to love that you shared that as well, because it shows that we're all human. Like, it doesn't matter how enlightened we are all human. And I love that you said that as well, because I think it's true. I think there's so many people who are still finding that, you know, what's my expectation with myself? And as you said that, it made me think about, you know, a lot of us set an expectation of ourselves 10 years ago. You know, a lot of us have not ever. So we may set intentions, but the expectation that's deeply grounded in whatever, you know, our story is psychologically, is usually an expectation we somehow put on ourselves, even as a child, or, you know, as a 20-year-old, or something like that. And so I have this fundamental belief that I need to do my expectations every day, because sometimes it changes. So again, like the COVID period, okay, I had such big expectations on myself for this year, and it doesn't mean I can't get there, but we had bushfires and then we had COVID. And so I had to stop, and this is where it's good to get it every day and go, well, actually, can I realistically expect myself to do what I planned? And even every day, you know, I think you can wake up one day and feel sick, or you can wake up one day and someone needs you. And so if you don't reset the expectation, then you're left feeling terrible. You might go out to help someone because, you know, a family member's ill or something like that, but you've missed out on what you thought you should be doing for that week or that day. And you end the day, instead of feeling good about the fact you helped someone, you end the day feeling awful because you've got this expectation mismatch. And I think when we reset the expectation, we go, okay, that was my expectation, but I actually need to help this person now, or, you know what, I'm actually sick and I really need to sleep. And so we go, okay, well, I'm resetting that expectation, and then I can pick that other expectation up the next day and go, okay, is it valid for me to pick that up now, or do I actually need some more rest? And you know, and I think that's a big learning lesson for all of us. You know, we never get that perfectly, but when we, I don't know, that small shift for me when I moved to setting expectations daily as opposed to intentions, I found that I took so much weight off my shoulders, and I feel so accomplished by the end of the day, even if I've just done one little thing.
Oh, I as I said, you've given me a light bulb moment, because I've been trying to figure this out for 2 weeks. I'm like, what is it with me? And the first probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was procrastinating, just procrastinating like I could not believe. And the frustration then was so, I was getting angry with myself because I was procrastinating, and it's like, Sharon, just do something. And so then I started to do something, which wasn't necessarily, again, what my expectations were setting. And so that is, that's really deep for me. Like that's really, I found that really profound, because I had been going through this, and it was only a week and a half ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, that I went, right, that's it. You need to set a plan for yourself. You need to set your expectations, which I did. And I actually, you know, one of my expectations were that I was not going to expect more than I would of anyone else.
Oh, I love that, Sharon. I love that.
And so that's what I decided to do. And if I needed to be there for my grandson or my daughters or my husband particularly, I would give myself permission, and actually even my dogs, because my dogs, you know, I keep saying how our pets are going to be beside themselves when everyone goes back to work, because they've had us home. But even my dogs, if we've got a beautiful day, why shouldn't I be out in the paddock with them?
Yeah.
Instead of setting the expectation that I should be doing something that I can still fit that in, or reassess, am I doing that because I need it, or am I doing it because I've expected myself to do it?
Yeah. I think that's, you know, that's so important. And you know, when we sit back and unpick these things, and, you know, of course, you know, being there for your family is the most important, but again, the expectations we place on ourselves mean we miss that time, or we're not present with them, because yeah, there's an expectation that we've got to, you know, be working on the business all of the time, 24/7, and it has to be the same as what we expect every day has to, you know, consist of this hustle or whatever that looks like. And yes, you've got to do hard work. We always know that. But yeah, the expectations we place on ourselves, you know, are so important. And what I had a thought there, and I've kind of lost it anyway. But, you know, I think going back to, you know, you spending time with your family, I think when we entered the COVID period too, a lot of people thought, I'm going to lose my business overnight.
And my
And I
husband
think,
was one of those. My husband
yep,
was one of those, Sheena.
yep. And that we have to, you know, that's a real fear, and there's a
Yep.
real acknowledgement. I mean, it had such a sweeping impact, and so people then started working double time, not sleeping, all of those kind of things. But what that also meant was that people were trying to make decisions from a very exhausted and overwhelmed state. And rationally, we know that it's hard to make a rational decision when you're overwhelmed and things like that. But people just couldn't take the 6 hours to sleep or anything like that. And so, you know, we can't take away how hard that is. But what I think we can do is go, okay, what's the lesson we can do? Because most people won't lose their business in that 6 hours they sleep. You know, because there is stuff, you know, it's looking at the bigger picture, it's seeing it. So often it's the crisis comms kind of thing, you know, the crisis hits and we think everything is dire immediately.
Yep.
You know, and I won't take away that, you know, in the ICU in a hospital, that's exactly what it is. But in most other areas, it's not necessarily going to fall off straight away. And so it's when we can take a breath, when we can, go for that 15-minute walk, take an overnight sleep, we often make a better decision and we actually come out better. But it's those decisions that are made from overwhelm often. And I think we saw people do that in this time, where they made that knee-jerk reaction very early without thinking about it. And again, you can't take it away. I mean, it was a scary freaking situation. But, you know, the more we can reset our expectations every day and go, okay, my expectations have to change right now because things beyond my control changed. How do I just take even 10 minutes to look at that expectation and go, right, I've got to change that right now to be able to get me to the next hour, the next day, the next week. And so expectations front and center, keep evaluating. Yeah.
Yep. Oh my God. As I said, it's just light bulb. I love it. I love getting a light bulb moment. It's just always so exciting. And that's what I did. I even had made excuses. Like my husband said to me in the first couple of weeks, he said to me, I was outside. I don't even know what I was doing. I think I was probably out with my chooks. And he said to me, oh my God, it's really nice to see you outside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I went, oh wow, actually, yeah, I have been trying to compensate for, I don't know what really, what was, you know, I haven't been working like I had been in the public service for the last 6 months. You know, that has been an expectation I put on myself, that was why I haven't renewed another contract right at this time. And that's because I was going to look at different options and focus on my business and focus on me.
Yeah.
But when COVID,
That,
well, it probably
mm,
started with the fires, and then we had the hailstorm, and then
yeah,
we had COVID-19. Um, and I actually looked at the, when I'm just checking the calendar the other day, I went, oh my God, we're almost 6 months into the year.
I know. How scary is that? And
Where
it's
has
been,
that gone? What have I done with my time? I don't know.
I know, and it's been constant. It really has been constant disruption. We talk about the bushfires, and you really were in the thick of things, really, because you're kind of close to those areas. And of course, even just being in Canberra meant that we were grateful that we were safe, but we're also walking out into this heavy smoke that impacted all areas of life. So again, change expectations, and
And
then suddenly
we
COVID.
have a place down the coast, so people had
Yeah.
been evacuated from it.
Uh,
We still haven't even been down to see what state it's in, so
yeah.
we don't even know. I said to my husband the other day, my daughter's been down, so we've actually have a bit of an idea. But when they got there, the people had been evacuated. The cleaners hadn't been in. There was smoke and dust and ash and everything right through the apartment. And so we're just one. How many other people out there, or have
Yeah.
they lost places and they haven't now been able to get back down there, or like.
Yeah.
And it's like the bushfire stuff has been pushed aside with COVID-19,
Mm,
yet those people that are living in that bushfire environment
yeah.
are still they're living with both now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, I like that there's been more discussions now about actually this has been a hell of a year. There's been, unbelievable devastation. On the same hell token, there's been unbelievable compassion and humanity that just
Yeah.
warm, it's just amazing. But if we go back to the expectations, another thing I think that's important is we need to realize that probably every one of us right now is grieving. And I know a lot of us don't like to put grief as a term, but but a lot of us are grieving because I think expectations. I don't think anyone on the planet would have had the expectation that life would turn out like this
Well, I
year.
think everybody probably had the opposite, didn't they? How many
Yeah.
people do you know that we were saying and I've been saying I knew it was going to be a year of change.
Mm.
That's with my psychic medium work, that's what I was getting. It's going to be a year of change.
Yeah.
I could never have predicted this change.
Like, change. That's no one. So everyone, and I think it's nice to acknowledge the grief in a way to go, it's okay that I might be feeling, can I swear, a bit shit. Like, it's actually okay.
Yep.
And then it's okay that I can pick myself up, and it's okay at those times where I actually feel really happy despite everything that's going on. Like, the more we acknowledge that, the uncomfortable feelings in a lot of ways, yes, result in because of fear. There's
Yes.
that's taken over a lot of the year, I think, but also because of grief. Because
Yes.
everyone has probably had so many plans for this year already destroyed, and we still don't know what the next half of the year is going to bring.
No.
So it's still hard to plan for what that's going to look like as
Oh,
well.
and look, how many things have we had cancelled? I mean, I had a retreat cancelled. Actually, I've had 2 retreat cancels because I cancelled my Darwin retreat as well, because I don't really know whether when I'll be able to get up there.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just one very, very small business. So there's so many. I know my husband, another part of his business is equipment for events. And so since before Christmas, they have not had events.
Yeah.
So they've actually had not just the COVID-19 period, they've had the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And so it's been really interesting times, but I love the fact that you keep referring to the, the unknown, or where we're, we had all these expectations. And that's, to me, that's my belief with my spiritual work, is this is what we're meant to experience. We're meant to be uncomfortable. We're meant to have, and it all comes back to what I always say, those that follow me know, how you feel, it's your thoughts. What are your thoughts? What's feeling up here? What is the feeling in your mind?
Yeah.
How are you reacting to that? And how are you acting around that?
Yeah.
And they're three of the really important things that can define your outcome, I think.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, actually, Sharon. And I think it shows a lot because we've seen the best of humanity and the worst of humanity, let's be honest. And a lot of it comes down to exactly what you were saying, the thoughts and is it still working? And all of that kind of stuff. Are we?
My screen's gone blank. Are you still there?
Yeah, I can still see you.
Good. As long as you can see me, because I can't see you. I have blank screen.
I can see that something's happening. No, that's all good.
Okay, great.
Isn't it amazing?
I had a blue screen of death. That's always a really bad sign, isn't it?
I know, and it is always the blue screen of death, isn't it? But luckily,
it's back.
Yeah, it's safe.
Must have just been having a bit of a break.
Yeah, everyone needs a break.
No expectation then.
No, exactly. I love on that point. Yeah, we've seen like the best and the worst of humanity, but I think again, these kind of times of uncertainty, people feel like they have no control. So they either go to the thing of saying, I'm going to surrender, but if they're not naturally someone who fits into that, okay to do that, that just sends into overwhelm. So, and then we forget that actually we can control our response to anyone. And, so we can go into Woolies and we can yell at the checkout person because they're only letting us have 2 packets of pasta, and we can, at a local shop near me, and I won't name it, but it's awful, someone punched a checkout person. What? So this beautiful man who works at Woolies near me, and again, I feel for every human. So part of me goes, that human that punched the checkout operator is obviously hurting a lot.
Yeah,
and so, but I also go, that doesn't condone the action. The fact that every single time you walk out that door, you have a choice on how to respond. So you have a choice to respond and go, okay, yep, you might say, I'm not happy about this 2 pasta rule because, I've got a big family and I usually buy 5 packets every day. But you can choose to go, that person there is doing their job and they're doing the best, and they're out there in this environment and they're helping people so much.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to make it all about you and react in a way that injures someone else. Like it blows my mind that people, and a lot of people go, well, I don't have a choice. You do have a choice. You still have a choice every single day about how you respond and how you want to show up and all of those kind of things. And so, it's and I always, remember that, because it blew my mind. And again, I think we can all say, we're like, oh, Canberra's amazing. I feel so privileged to be in Canberra at this point in time, because I think Canberra is amazing. But there's still these pockets where you go, wow, people are choosing to let that fear just take over them. And, I truly believe, yes, we've got to have empathy for everyone who's hurting. And I believe, that, we really do. We have to look beyond that and go, okay, well, what was happening for that person right now? But we also don't condone the action. We kind of go, well, how do we actually help more people to see that they have a choice over their actions?
Yes. And I totally agree with you, because we never know what that other person's story is, the one that just
absolutely.
And I work with the homeless as well. So we both volunteer, and we both know that sometimes we have to, walking in the shoes of somebody else is a wonderful way to try and reground yourself and remind yourself that not everybody's as fortunate as you out there. And I think that's why I love my volunteering so much, because it absolutely does that. But in saying that, we all still have to take responsibility for our behaviours and our actions and reactions, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wow, that's a real, I was going to make a joke about toilet gate, but
I know. Well, there's still can. I feel like
extreme, isn't it?
Australians have to make a joke out of, I think, toilet gate, because it was so unbelievable. And again, just that idea that, because you're really taking, again, at the end of the day, the people who really hoarded groceries. And I get it that they were doing it from a fear base, and then people jumped on because they thought they were going to miss out and things like that. But, you know, it's again taking a step back and going, hold on, like, you know, what's the ramifications of me having a room full of toilet paper? It's that,
Well, the ramifications are now for someone like me that didn't go out and buy a heap, I can just go and get it whenever I want.
exactly.
I haven't had to store it in my house.
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
I mean, I know at first, I remember when it was first happening, I was really excited that I could get fresh food because nobody was taking it.
It's so true, isn't it?
It
I
is.
actually love the fact that you can get fresh food delivered from your local cafes, and like that people have pivoted and innovated to, you know, I get grocery boxes now from a cafe that uses their local supplier, and I'm like, wow, this has changed my life.
Wow. Tell me
really
more
like
about that.
There's quite a few cafes which I love, because then I started talking to a few cafe owners when they were there, and they started to go, well, obviously they couldn't have people in, and let's be honest, like coffee will only make you so much money. So one, to keep them afloat, but two, to help their suppliers. So quite a lot just started selling, you know, like milk, eggs, fruit and veg, stuff that they would normally buy in from the cafe to you know, support the cafe.
Yes, how wonderful is that?
There was a beautiful one in, well, there is a beautiful cafe, I'm going to get the name wrong, but it's got green in it, in Civic, and they were then saying, well, bring us your grocery list and we'll see what we can get for you. And I thought, particularly for people who were time poor or, you know, elderly and things like that, who didn't want to battle the crowd.
That gives me cold shivers. How lovely is that?
I just thought that was amazing. Yeah.
And how innovative is that?
Yeah.
To think that they've gone, well, okay, we'd normally use these groceries anyway, let's keep our suppliers up to date. And they've probably created a whole new business for themselves.
That's it. And I love, because, you know, again, it's the local factor, but I love the fact that, you know, it's really people innovating for their survival, but not actually fully for their survival.
Yeah.
It's innovating for their suppliers and
Absolutely.
their customers, and, you know, doing it out of a really genuine place of going, I genuinely want to make this work for people and to support people, not just to bring in money. And I think, you know, that's always, you know, we can go to fear and we can go, I'm just going to, you know, do anything that makes money. And if that happens, that's okay. But just the beauty of going, I'm going to make sure I do something that supports everyone. So
absolutely. And I've got a few ladies that are watching. Melissa says, hi, Sharon and Sheena. Belle actually says, my local coffee shop does home delivery free of buying your coffee, and you can add milk and bread also. So that's great, isn't it? Oh my God. I actually, you know what I'm surprised I haven't seen pop up? I've seen a guy that's now delivering bread, but I'm surprised we haven't seen the old milkman make his way back.
I know. I would love the Milko to come back. Would
I
love
mean,
it.
I loved his truck coming around of an afternoon.
Yeah, me too. That would be
I'm surprised he hasn't come back. I was really shocked that we haven't had a Milko pop up. But then, you know, as you say, you can get it now from your local shops or your little, you know, cafes. Or that's amazing. And I love the fact that people are just getting outside the box, just really going, well, what can we do that's slightly different? I love that. And that's, to me, that's what this time is all about. It's reinventing ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good lens to look through, actually.
Yeah, because, you know, we've actually we've had to, well, we've either it's back to the flight or fight survival.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't create change, and if you want to just keep doing the same old, well, we know you put the same shit in, you get the same shit out.
It's
That's
true,
the
isn't it?
reality of it. So you have to get innovative. Belle says her dad was a bread man, and I also have had Alex, the pizza guy, deliver home bases. Oh, and Nonna's sauce, so you can make your own. Wow,
that would be great. I would be in on that. I am such a delivery queen.
See, I'm not, because out here we don't have that luxury.
Yeah. Oh, my neighbour commented the other day. She said, "Do you have a delivery truck at your house every day?" So I don't know. But
maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I just love you know, and I think, and I do focus on the local sort of stuff as well, but I love it when I can get everything delivered to my house. It's like a secret
I
passion of
love
mine.
that about you. I love how you really do. You really have been, you know, I know your business is communications, but you actually walk your talk because you actually really do support local business owners. And I just love that about you. You really, it doesn't matter what you do. I know with the bushfires, I went and met you for coffee and you'd been, you know, helping them out. They were collecting food goods and you had a huge weekend helping support and sort food, and so you could actually, was that to the fires or was that to homes? I can't remember.
So that was the wonderful people at the G Spot in Gungahlin.
Yes.
And that, again, the power of a small business, really, you know, that was so spearheaded by the G Spot owners, where they just, you know, they took over the entire car park where they were with volunteers.
Because I was going to say, they're only a little business in a car park, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Incredible.
You know, this takeaway, it's a takeaway van, but, you know, run by a chef, and it is brilliant. And so, yeah, they just did these call outs through social media. They were coordinating trucks, they were getting them down the coast, they were coordinating with the police to get the trucks through. And it wasn't, you know, it was all run by, you know, this guy who just went, I need to get in and help people. And he was doing lives every day. And we started following it on social media, and a friend of mine, Tracy, and I decided to go, okay, well, we're just going to do a collection. So we just put a thing out on Facebook, and then all these people said, yeah, if you can grab some stuff and put it in there. So and some people dropped stuff off our door. So we took a big truck full, took my husband's like big Hilux full of stuff to them. And then we just said, what do you need? And then so we got another load of stuff, and we just got out of the truck and just ended up spending hours there helping them, and, you know, went back again. And a lot of people did the same thing. So nothing special necessarily on that, but, you know, just the community.
I think you probably underestimate yourself in the sense that not everybody has done that. Not everybody offered to do that. I think I say you were very special because, you know, and I'm sure the people that received the goods would say you and all the others were very special as well. So it's outside the square. It's outside. Again, it brings the empathy back into the community. Yeah. Going, absolutely. Well, hang on, how can I make a difference?
100%. Yeah. And we could stay inside our house and read social media and get depressed or annoyed at the comments, let's be honest, you know, or we could get out there and just, I don't know, work with a whole bunch of amazing people filling trucks with all these goods for people down the coast.
How that was, you know, I helped. There was a lady that we've had on here, Kerry Furness. She was making emergency packs, and I dropped a heap of stuff out to her place. Perfect. She was putting in like a toothpaste and a toothbrush and some shampoo and some, you know, wash, and there was soap and whatever else was going into them. And she spent days, I remember, bloody Glad bags. She was just doing all these Glad bags up. Yeah. Incredible. But it just takes, you know, some people like that. And if we didn't have those people, how much more worse off would people be today?
Yeah, it's very, very true, isn't it? It's just getting out there and, taking some action and,
it'd be interesting if so, you know, like our news people would get out and go and follow up on some of our people that had actually been in the fires, and let's see how they were going. But through COVID-19, no, they're just too worried about bloody telling everybody how to be scared.
I know.
It's crazy we're all waiting and desperately in need of this vaccination. We all forget that our body regenerates every 70 to 90 days. And you know, we aren't even focusing on that bit, that our own immunity system is a totally amazing thing just in itself. And I'm not no doctor, and I don't, you know, and I would not say don't not get a vaccination. You know, that's your own choice. But let's be looking at some of that as well, some of the alternatives until the vaccination becomes available. And if that's what you choose to do, well, great.
Yeah. And I think it's, you know, it's being open to having conversations about what life looks like now, and, you know, how we support ourselves and care for ourselves, but also care for others.
Yes.
And, you know, and I think we noticed that last weekend, I think it was Sydney, I saw some images of like the shopping malls in Sydney packed on the weekend, and it made me go, and you know, and I get that people were wanting to get out of their homes and things like that, but I often think sometimes the rationale for not doing that is not about you, it's about others, because it's, if you maximize your risk of getting it, let's be honest, you know, we've seen the media that most of us will be fine and we will recover well. But what if we pass that on to someone who's not so fortunate? And I think that dictates sometimes my response to going out at the moment is, you know, let's be honest, I'll be fine probably if I get it, but I would be horrified if, you know, I don't do it, because
Absolutely.
I think, what if I pass that on to someone else? Yeah.
And that is a real thing, isn't it? You know, we have a family member that had to be tested for it.
Yeah.
We're still waiting the results.
Yeah.
And I have downloaded the app, the COVID app, but immediately
Yeah.
I was like, after the testing occurred, I was like, far out, who have I been with? Where have I been? And it was a very real fear that I got, not for myself, but being responsible for where I'd been and what I'd done. Because who else did I, and look, I haven't even got a sniffle.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think this person has man flu, but we won't go there.
That's a whole other, that's a pandemic in itself.
And if he's watching this, he's going to just give it to me. But anyway. But again, it was like I had to take that responsibility myself and go, well, right, you know, I had certain things that I was happening around me until he gets his results back. I needed to let those people know that I'd been near them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't know, because that made me think, and then I was like, oh my God, where's he been? Because he's an essential service provider. So I was like, you know, I think about where he'd been and who he'd been in contact with, and then it just went from those people. Where had those people been?
Yeah.
Who were they in contact? And so it was no longer this one person that possibly was at risk. And as I said, I doubt it, but you know, I could be eating my words. I don't think so, but I could be. But I had to take, you know, I had to do what I had to do and say to everybody, look, this is what's happened. You know, I have to be responsible. But yeah, it just, when I thought about it, I went, oh my God. Oh my God, how?
Yeah.
It's
just
that
ability.
It's not a fear thing for me. I'm not frightened in any way.
No.
But I'm just like, you don't think about it.
Yeah. What if I'm one of those? And it's so funny, because I wonder if it's going to change our attitudes to showing up at work sick or going out when we're sick. And I think, you know, because there has, I don't know if it's just an Aussie thing or not, but, you know, there's the thing of, you know, oh, I'm so sick, but I have to come into work. And I've been guilty of that, you know, many times in the past. And again,
I've taken it in and given it to my staff.
Yeah. I'm going to circle back to expectations. When we take the expectation off ourselves again and we go, hold on, my expectation is, yes, that I show up and I work hard, but what's my expectation today when I'm sick? If I think about that and I go, actually, my expectation is I need to get better so I can keep working, and I need to not infect people. And so we've changed the expectation, and then hopefully we feel better about, and yeah, we're always going to get that guilt that says I should be working. But if we can change the expectation and go, actually, it's important that I stay home right now because I don't want to give this to anyone else. I don't want to prolong my sickness, because, you know, actually at the end of the day, in most situations, I never say in most, because there are some people who work in very urgent jobs, but in most situations, the world is not going to end if you don't go to work and you actually just sleep and get better.
Well, I was laughing at him and I said, well, bonus, you get 4 days off unless they contact you earlier to tell you that you're okay.
Yes, that's it. And then you're back into it.
Yeah, that's right. So make the most of that 4 days.
Yeah.
Well, it probably won't be 4 days because I think they're turning the tests around pretty quickly, but to cover themselves, they have to say 4 days. But that's right. And what are you doing in that time? Are you actually taking the time to care for yourself a little bit as well?
Yeah. It's so true. And I think everyone needs to take care of themselves. I think this goes back to something they teach you at Lifeline, which is just so amazing. And it's something I also learned through burnout, that self-care is actually essential. And I know, so I used to have this I thought it was the best process in the world. So my process was burn out once a year, literally take 3 or 4 weeks off where you're pretty much done. And then that's okay. You'll go back re-energized to work 24/7 every day. And so I did that for a few years running, which I thought was the best strategy in the world. Lo and behold, it was not a good strategy.
No, that's terrible.
I know. And I realized you actually get more job satisfaction, you produce better work when you take time out to care for yourself.
Yes.
And again, the basic principles of Lifeline are that you can't support anyone else if you're not in a good position. And so there is kind of this agreement you need to make with yourself to go, before I ever walk into that phone room, I need to make sure I've cared for myself. And when I walk out of that phone room as well, I need to make sure I care for myself, because, and that's not selfish, that's, I actually can't help anyone if I'm not in a place to do that.
And I rattle on about that with my groups all the time, Sheena. I'm all about, if you don't fill your cup and give people the overflow, you end up giving them the dregs. Yeah. And as we all know, who wants the dregs in your cup?
Exactly right.
You've
I don't even drink the dregs in my beer.
Overflow to give the best of yourself to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really important. Belle Hogg says to me, Sheena is so supportive of so many. Aww. How gorgeous. See, we know that. We all know that. Thanks, Belle. I know she's done some...
I'll pay you later, Belle.
She says, I know she's done some lovely things with my friend Vicky at Rock Stars and Royalty.
Oh, I love Vicky. Yes.
So a big shout out to Sheena. Thanks.
And Vicky is another amazing local business and just amazing human trying to change the world as well. Yeah, phenomenal.
Big shout out to Vicky then too.
Yeah.
She says athletes do sprints. We can learn from them, i.e. work, rest, work. Yeah, well, that's actually really true, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. Actually, we need that, because you know how Australians, we do put athletes on a pedestal, and I do. I love sport.
Yes.
But it's right. Like
that is so true.
They have to rest. Like rest is actually part of their training schedule.
It is. Oh my God! Thanks, Belle. I think that's really up 2 light bulbs today. Like, what is that? God. Goodness me! Let's go for 3.
I know that. Let's see what we can do.
It is. It's so important, isn't it? But I guess I probably we've had the most amazing conversation here. But I want to just go back and give you the opportunity to tell us a bit more about your business.
It's always harder talking about your own business, but I guess it's a communications firm, and I think it's hilarious because often it's, again, people's perception of what that is, whether that's, you know, and for small business, I do sort of look at that communications and marketing and how they identify their audience and get out and reach that audience. And I also base that on what they say no to. I'm very big on saying to people, your audience isn't everyone. You cannot and you never will be able to communicate to everyone. And you should never try to convince people on the opposite end. You know, if people don't already value what you do a little bit, trying to convince them will never get you anywhere. So they're not your audience. You know, the people who tell you you're too expensive, not your audience. And so
that is so true, Sheena. That is really good advice.
If anyone tells you you're too expensive, never go back and apologize. I always say to everyone, you know, they're just not your audience. They're
not for you, are they? No, absolutely not.
We will never be able to service everyone, and that's why I don't believe in competition either. Because, you know, yes, we can see what others are doing, but actually, there's enough clients out there for everyone, really, when we think about it. And so yeah, with small businesses, I do a lot around that. So I guess it comes to communication strategy and marketing and how they reach people, but it actually is a lot at the start in mindset, exploring who they really are, what the values are of their business, what the values are of them, who their audience is in that. So we do a lot of mindset coaching sort of stuff in that as well. And then with bigger businesses and with government, I guess it comes to some of the stuff I was talking about before. It's, you know, it's looking at communication strategies that, you know, get everyone internally on the same page and empower everyone to communicate, because I strongly believe in big organizations, your staff are your biggest communications tool, because you can say any message outside, the organisation. But if you you know, if you have a shop front or something like that, or you have an office and you are on the public front communicating that you are the, you know, honest and you're transparent and you listen and you all that sort of stuff, but someone comes in and your receptionist doesn't engage with them, treats them like dirt, something like that, that's their impression of your business. So we look at every angle of that business and go, your internal people have to be engaged before you can even have the trust, people can trust you from that outside point. So it's communication strategy, but it is really looking at those processes, living the values, all of that kind of stuff. So, and then the third part I do, which I love, I'm going to plug just a little bit, only because I love it.
No, please, that's the idea of this.
I do a lot of coaching for women on influence, so influence and communication. So I also have this, you know, I grew up in government in a way, and I had 2 jobs when I was 13 and all of this sort of things. So I think in some ways I didn't realize that I had to be subordinate or anything like that. So the hierarchy to me didn't mean anything. And so I was not afraid to, you know, tell people what, you know, you know, I thought should happen in a very, you know, taking in things into consideration. But I think I also witnessed a lot of women in particular get into higher roles and they would still sit in meetings and write a lot of notes. They would not be in the conversation, they would not be listening, they'd be writing notes and they'd miss everything because they were trying to overwork in a way and overprove how good they were. And so what I do is I try to, you know, get women to see how they can influence, how they can be seen, how they can influence, and how they can actually derive proper joy and not be the one who is working from, let's be honest, a lot of women do this, early in the morning when they wake up, then they take the kids to school and then they're working really hard in there and then they're working till like midnight, and, you know, and they're not being seen because they're not in the conversations. They're too busy trying to produce rather than be in the conversations. And so I do a bit of work with women on that, and I love that because I think we can change the way women are in the workforce, you know, in that sense, and it can be more aligned to who they are as opposed to fitting into this false perception that we have to hustle 24/7.
That's and you actually have a coaching program where women can be a part of that. Now, I do remember also a group program that you have as well too, don't you?
I do.
So happy for you to, you know, give that a plug if you want as well. So
thank you, Sharon. I won't go too into detail. It is on my website, which is psychoms.com.au, so SICOMMS.com.au. And the program,
we'll pop that up anyway.
Yeah, the program is called Influential Women, and the top tier of it is literally just 6 women. And what I love is they become their own mastermind and support crew as well. So there's one-on-one time with me and we go through individual ways. I do love one of my beautiful clients from the last intake admitted that one of the great things is I called her bullshit, but in a really nice and supportive way. And so, you know, you do have to sort of do the work in that sense, but it also creates this community of diverse women who are not from the same field, not from the same industry. You know, we've had people from in government, from in industry, own business, etc. And they become their own little tight-knit group who can support each other as well. And so I love that flow-on impact, that it's not actually just about me helping, you know, these women support each other as well. And yeah. And I mean,
that's really important, isn't it? When you're, I know as a coach and a counsellor myself, I provide the tools, but I show them how to do the work. I can't do the work for them.
No.
They need to, and with the spiritual stuff that I do, you need to go inside. You need to bring that out. You know, we live in such an external world where we're grabbing for all this stuff. We need to go within.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill's also said here, Nick actually. Nick says, I love this thought process. If you listen to negativity from others, you can end up lowering your self-worth. That is so true.
Yeah, so much so.
And Bill also says, I can relate totally. I went into government with no concept of rank, and that we all should have ideas to be able to influence from any level. I made huge innovation changes at Medicare because I just did it confidently and well thought out.
I love that, Belle.
Yeah.
And it's so true. You can actually do that in government, and government allows you to do that. But it's people who, fall into that hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, amazing, Belle, amazing.
Well, I laugh at it because I'd been pushing for working from home for a lot of people probably in 2000. Well, I left in 2016. So I reckon in 2010, I was really pushing hard to let people start working, flexible working arrangements, we called it at the time. And I was pushing everybody, and I'd started working from home back then anyway. But there was so many people that just couldn't grapple this concept. And I laugh. It's one of the things I laugh about so much now. I go, well, you still couldn't quite grapple it, but now you don't have a choice.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
You know, I just wonder how many of those managers that were going, nope, they just didn't have the concept of letting people work from home. And look, working from home is not for everybody. There are some naughty buggers out there. That's the reality. Or some people just can't focus.
That's it.
But, I wonder how they're coping now with the fact that they didn't have a choice. Everybody was made to work from home.
That's it. And I think, we can't brand everyone as the person who's going to abuse the system, because let's be honest, 99% of people won't. And so if we distrust at the first step, we're never. And I love, and I've heard lots of stories about this, like there's a lot of people who have actually really flourished working from home. And I hope we don't lose the fact that that could be a really good way of work. There's also people who have gone, who are normally high performers, who have gone, I hate this, like I cannot work from home. And so I think we need to start to go, well, I hope we start to go, maybe there is not a one size fits all. Maybe we can look at the strengths of people, and it may not mean that people who flourish at home can work 5 days a week from home, but maybe 1 day in the office and 4 days at home is actually okay for them in their job, particularly if they're not front facing, with a client. So I hope we start to look at this and go, maybe we can figure out different ways of working.
It really has put a lot of us out of our comfort zone. It really has taken us to a totally different space of comfort.
So true.
I can't believe we've been chatting for an hour.
I know. I saw the time and I went, we've gone over.
Oh, that's okay. Sometimes
we always do.
The best part about this is I am the editor, director, the decision maker. So it's okay.
Perfect.
We get to do what we want.
Indeed. I love that every time I go and have a coffee with you for half an hour, and 3 hours later we get up off the table.
Time and me, I just don't work very well with it. I don't work very well with time. Time for me is, I think it's like I'm a rebellious time beater, because, time is about putting that structure in that I like to, be rebellious against.
Keep rebelling.
Sheena, it has absolutely been amazing having you on the couch. Thank you so much. It really has been beautiful, and I love your energy. It's all, and as you say, we do, when we get together, we're yabbling along for a long time. But just quickly, before we finish up, can you tell us 3 of your favourite tips for helping people stay healthy, or probably let's turn a bit of a twist on that one, for managing and manoeuvring through the changes that are coming up, because we really don't know what they're going to be over the next few months either.
Yeah, that's true. Acknowledge the uncertainty and control what you can, and I think it's false of us to think that it's going to be certain at any point soon. And I know we're all struggling to go, I just want to know when this is going to happen. And it's just, we don't have the answers. So control what you can control. So instead of throwing everything out the window, maybe build a morning routine that looks like, a walk and a coffee, or maybe it's that at 12 o'clock every day you stop for a coffee or something like that. Build something certain into your day. And I think that's a really important thing, because the more we have that's certain in our day, and that, our brain's pretty smart, or a brain actually in some ways isn't, we can trick it. It can be small. If we have the certainty of a coffee at the same time every day, our brain will go, I got some certainty. So we'll be better equipped to deal with the uncertainty when it comes, as opposed to overwhelmed because everything's uncertain.
Yes.
I think that is probably my biggest tip at this point in time. Obviously setting those expectations with yourself, resetting them, and being kind to yourself when you don't meet them. And one way to do that, and I love this tip, and it's something I do quite a lot, at the end of each day, write down 10 things you did well. So instead of, and you can do it whether it's before you leave the office or before you leave your desk or actually at night before you go to sleep. So instead of at the end of each day dwelling on what you didn't do, do 10 things you did well. And you know what? This doesn't have to be huge. Honestly, sometimes mine is I did not speed today.
Dina
Speed one
has
a few times because, you know,
a very beautiful car. So
I do, yeah, I'm a bit of a rev head. So often that one has to make it, or actually often it doesn't make it. You know, it could be, I actually sat and enjoyed my coffee. So it doesn't have to be huge, but when we remind ourselves that we've done 10 things well today, we, in a way, we dwarf whatever one thing that we're dwelling on because we think it didn't go well. So 10 things I did well every afternoon before you leave work, or every evening, whatever that's needed. And that can help you with, again, resetting those expectations and going, hold on, you know, I'm actually okay, or I'm not okay, and I have to admit that. Yeah.
That is awesome. And I think that's really important. You have to acknowledge it. You have to let it go. Acknowledge it, release it, surrender it, whatever works for you, but you have to let it go. And I love that fact of writing it down. I always go on and on to people, you know, particularly when I'm doing my life coaching. I tell them that, you know, think of the pie graph. 25% of that pie graph is all the crap in your life. The rest is usually quite good.
Yeah.
But where do we focus? The 25%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you can learn to pull yourself out of the 25% and get into the 75%, you'll find that life is so much easier. And writing down what you've done well that day, or what you've even just achieved, is going to change your whole life.
So much so.
Well, thank you so very much. And thank you all very much. I'll just quickly check our comments. Nick says we need to let go of what we can't control. Bill says I'd better get back to it. Both of you are so inspiring and amazing. Oh, Belle. Need more of you ladies in the world. Thank you. Oh, isn't that beautiful? So everybody have a truly fabulous rest of your afternoon. Sending you all much love, huge hugs. Take care. Be kind. And as we often say, just go gently. Just go gently with yourself. You deserve that. Bye for now. Thanks, Sheena.
Thank you.
Okay. It's finished. Thank you. That was great.
Oh, was that great? I love it because we just chat. I was like, I don't know where this is going to go.
I was really, I just wanted to, because I have this thing that I want to give everybody the opportunity to plug their business.
Oh, you're so lovely like that. Thank you.
No, hello, says you, that gave me my first ever. I don't think you and Sheena and Danielle actually understand what you did for me when you actually, you know, when Danielle first said to me that, you know, she was going to give, you know, chat to you guys, and then you guys contacted me and wanted to come out. I was just happy doing my little business in my backyard. That's what I was going to do. I didn't really think of it much more than that. In my tent, just happy in my tent. But you and Lisa actually changed the whole direction of that. And so I'm ever grateful.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
And then with Lisa giving me the opportunities to write, and I really want to write some more, but I just haven't had the chance. You know, because I was always told I was such a terrible writer in the public service. My bosses always told me how bad of a writer I am. And so for writing for me, it's with those 2 articles that I did for her, I actually wrote both of them in the middle of the night.
Oh,
because I was stressed out about them, and which I haven't rushed to do another one, as obviously you can see why. But it just at that time it just poured out then, because it was tired and my confidence didn't, you know, I was wanting to get it to her for a deadline and stuff. And so they are really small things, but very significant things that allowed me to grow so much. So I'm ever grateful for the both of you.
Thank you. You gave us both so much that day as well, though. Like, we had a great day out with you.
Oh, but it was just so lovely. And then just to, I don't know, just to see the article and look at it through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, That's the huge bit, isn't it? And you just go, wow, is that me? Yes, that's me.
Is that how they see that? I'm just, I'd been the psychic medium for 20, for 20 years, so it didn't matter. I was who I was.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, you've got so many amazing things,
Well, I'm actually looking more into the healing. I'm changing my direction slightly.
I think there's such a need for that. Let's be honest.
I will always do my medium work. That's because connecting people with their loved ones is so important. But I incorporate that now really into my counselling and my coaching. And I'm working with Rebecca Campbell at the moment as well. So,
you're saying it. Yeah. Is that where your intuitive stuff goes anyway? Because I still remember that first time that we came out and saw you, and you did the smudging for us.
I still love my smudging.
I know. And you looked at me and you said, what's going on with you and your mum? Or something like that. And straight away I just went, and not in a bad way. Like, it was just like there was a safe way in anything like that. Like, it actually was safe. And I was like, oh my God, she gets it.
Shit.
I know. And so, but that's why I think maybe intuitively you go to the healing anyway, because that's my bit that always had to, and so I was like, wow, straight away. But it was safety. There was no, no judgment, no nothing, no, oh my God, I'm going to close up. It was completely safe in having that moment. And I'd never had that before. Never.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's just, I don't know, because I guess I really do. I believe that I'm a Bluetooth, and it's I've got to give what they give me to give to you.
Yeah.
If I let any of my ego or any of my own opinions, you were talking about this before when you were saying with your lifeline work, you can't allow your opinions or your own visions or your own values to hop in the way when you're working with the client in that space, because that message isn't about me. It's about you. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm just a conduit. And I laugh about it all the time, saying I work for spirit and they're the ones that boss me around, no one else. And they bloody do boss me around. But it's you have to be respectful of that. You have to be respectful of the fact that that's what they do. And I'm not, which is why I was surprised at that lady when she was saying her power was so much vibration, which I just laugh about it. But I'm like, we actually have to really step aside. It's, I'm just a vessel that they're using to connect with you and heal you and love you and nurture you. And I've been very fortunate they've chosen, well, no, that's not true. They haven't chosen me. We all can do this. I just choose to do it myself. It's somewhere where I, like you feel you love your passion with your lifeline. I love my passion with, like, and I've worked with a lot of people with suicide, and even people that have wanted to commit suicide. Yeah. And just knowing, hearing stories. We had a young fellow that worked for us in one of our businesses in Sydney, Queensland. And the manager up there rang Rob and said, we've got this young fellow, he's going to commit suicide. It's blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Rob had him on a plane within probably 7 hours. It was probably even less than that. Yeah. Because I said to Rob, bring him here. I will look after him. He moved in with us for a month.
Wow. Yeah.
I took him to all his psych appointments. I did all my spiritual shit on him. I cooked him meals. Yeah. We nurtured him in our family. That young fellow has actually he's just gone on to leave our business, but gone on to do other stuff whereas that could have been a waste of a life.
That situation could have been so much.
Yeah. Oh, he told me straight out. He'd already planned how he was going to kill himself. Yeah. Yeah. And it was actually all over his father having an affair on his mother and feeling like he'd lost his best friend. Yeah. He hadn't only betrayed his mum, he'd betrayed him.
Yeah. And that's an awful pain to live with. When that's your feeling, whether we believe that's right or wrong that he feels that, he is feeling that much pain.
And that's what he said to me. He said, you just had no judgment of me the whole time. Whereas all I
Yeah.
could see my little Greek granny coming out of me going, right, let's feed this child. He's so
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
yeah,
As
it's
opposed,
so
yeah.
yeah, same as you. It's just that passion we have. I guess because I have such a wonderful life and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah,
I want everybody to have the same wonderful life.
totally. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Because
And I
life is
think
good.
that helps drive us, doesn't it?
It does. And I actually love that you said it, because it's like life is good. And when you realize that, you want other people to feel that. But you also know that you derive happiness from inside here. Like you
Yes.
derive all that from, so you're actually well equipped to support people. So again, we talk about that ego. We've kind of got that, actually it is about them, because I'm okay. I can
Yeah,
regulate myself.
that's
This is
right.
just about me supporting this person. Yeah. Huge.
Well, people always say to me, oh, you must be so drained doing this work. And I go, yeah, not.
Yeah, like, I know, and that's because it should bring
Joy.
you joy in a way, shouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
I mean,
know
I
what your
love
own
doing
self-care is.
I've had a number of ladies, older ladies that I've been doing that have grief, and I've been doing grief counselling with them.
Yeah. Huge.
I call it life coaching because I tell them, let's move even away from the grief counselling.
Yeah.
And just to see these women just transform.
Yeah.
One lady, I only worked with her for 6 weeks, and she had just had so much loss in her life,
Yeah.
including one of her children. And
Wow.
just to see her grow, I mean, it just, that's what makes you keep doing it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. And you empower them to grow. I always say, like, they owe you nothing, as much as people are like, thank you, thank you. But at the end of the day, they're doing it because they've been empowered to do it. They haven't been told to do it, which is, let's be honest, what some other coaches do.
Oh, and we can't heal or fix anybody. They have to fix themselves. All we can do is give them some tools.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. And that is true coaching.
It is. That's what coaching is. Proper coaching is giving people tools and empowering them to be the best version they can.
Yeah.
And then to improve on that if that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been just a blast chatting with you. Thank you.
So good. I love catching up with you. I love that we just chat and you're like, oh, time. Okay.
Well, it was funny. I looked at the time and it was 1:33, and so we got yabbering. And look at the time now, 2:22. I've got everywhere at the moment.
Me too.
Sorry?
Did you say you got the 3 digits all the time now?
Yeah, I'm getting 3 and 4.
Oh, I keep getting 5, 2, 3, and 11, 11.
I
have looked them up.
Are you in my new group that I set up?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I feel like there's a few of us now who just get just on repeat.
I'll send you
emails that come through at that time.
I'm going to send you a document. It's the best document I've found when it comes to numbers. It is amazing. And you can actually use it for any number at all. I just got to find it. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. I'll link it to you in Messenger. It goes into so much detail, and it has every single number. So it starts with the single digits, it goes to double, triple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then it goes to different numbers. So you can actually look up and say, if you get a mixed numbers, you can look up each number and see what that means.
There you go.
Yeah, really, really good. Really good. It's really good. It's the most detailed and the most accurate document that I've found yet.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, I should let you go because you're busy, busy, busy.
I know. I got a teleconference at 2:30, but it's not one I have to do anything. I just have to listen in on.
Oh, that's okay. I'll let you go and go to the toilet and do what you need to do first.
But it was so good to see you, and I get to see you. When did we book in? Next week?
Yes, next. I'll just have a check my book. I think it's next Wednesday or Tuesday.
I think it is.
Next Wednesday at 10:30.
Cool.
Does that still work, or have you got something on?
No, it still works.
We can change it.
I think.
You can come out if you want, or you can do it face over the phone, over Zoom. It's totally up to you.
I think I might be able to come out
Okay, good.
because it
I can
doesn't.
give you a smudging.
I think I might. Yeah, I think I
You'll
might
be
be
my
able to. I'll
first
let you know
person
that.
back into the studio. I only had one client during, I only took one, the rest I then put on Zoom the whole time.
Yeah.
I did have one lady, she was an Aboriginal woman that wanted to come out, and she
Yeah.
needed
That she need that connection.
that hands-on stuff. So
Yeah.
all right, you go. You need to go to the toilet and get whatever you need to do and get a coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you
Mwah.
so much.
Thank you
You're
so much. That
amazing.
was
You truly are.
amazing.
You are such an
Aw.
amazing, beautiful soul.
You are too. I love
Right.
more chats. Mwah.